Hi, I'm G. Trulia from Auto Clinic.
And I'm Bill Fichthorn from Auto Clinic.
And we're here doing a cleaning on this VW GTI Turbo, and it's a 2013 2-liter. It has an internal flap, and we're going to use the 3C machine. Couple of things to do first. Make sure the oil, the antifreeze, and everything is up to level. We're going to show you, Bill, what did you do inside?
I set up the scan tool, so we need to monitor a few PIDs while we're going through.
Okay, and those PIDs are?
Catalyst temperature, and I like to watch the RPM so we keep it in the right range.
And that maximum catalyst temperature?
15. If we see it go near 1500, we have to shut it down and let it cool.
So you want to stay between, 15, 16 max.
Right.
The chemicals, these were all in the refrigerator. They're clean. We're going to pour them in the bottle. We have our air hose ready. We're going to turn it around, start pouring these in, A, B, and C. And we'll just switch them around like this. And we're going to start pouring these things in. You're not going to put the air on. The bleed was already checked. Make sure there's no air in the system. And then we're going to pour these chemicals in here one at a time. I'll just get bottle B ready to go. Again, the colder the better. The motor, by the way, is cold. You want to do this cold so it doesn't vaporize the chemical. You want to be able to break down the carbon in there the best you can. It's a hot day out here in New York already. It's early in the morning, roughly about 8:20, and the temperature's in the 70s already. So the cooler the better. You may even want to cool these canisters here by putting them in a freezer. We put our chemical in a refrigerator, and you can really feel the difference on these things. They're really cold. Tighten them up, don't go crazy, just snug. And get rid of these cans. Then we're going to hook this up to the car. Now, another thing to remember, and we're going to look under the hood of this car. Notice we have a vacuum pump hooked up. Why? Because if it has internal shutters on that intake, then what's happening, the flaps are going to close and not allow you to go in or have the chemical go in to where the valves are. So that flap right down there, it's a little tough to see. I'm going to try to...
There's a vacuum solenoid that we just
actuated. There's a vacuum solenoid there. So we pumped it up. Some are a little different. We're going to introduce this chemical where, Bill?
We're going to go into this. There's a direct port right here.
Nice central port.
And we're going to go right into there. You want to try to avoid places with a 90-degree bend right inside. You want to try to go as direct and straight as possible.
Right. And you only want to use the hose. Bill, why don't you grab one of those hoses that'll fit in there. You only want to use the hose that comes with the machine. No bends in the hose. The most normal spots are usually PCV or evap purge solenoids. Now, see this hose going in?
It's got to be a nice tight fit.
Got to be a tight fit. Make sure it doesn't pop out. Then we're going to use the clamp, this clamp that comes off the machine that Bill's untangling right now. You get all this stuff ready. This is going to go into the end of the hose, the tip here, and that clamp will definitely go somewhere on the motor. That clamp is basically to let the machine know if the RPMs drop, then we got a problem. So see what Bill's going to do is stick it right on there. That's a good spot for it. That's what you always want to check. Make sure that all that stuff is in there really tight. You don't want it popping out and stuff spraying all over the place. I mean, you could always shut the emergency button. Now, the air is not hooked up yet, okay? But the machine itself, we have it on 4-cylinder. So right there, we have it on 4-cylinder. Notice the gauges are down to nothing. We have power and ground that we're going to hook up on the machine right to the vehicle, or you can go to an external battery pack, but here, no need. We got a battery, positive, then negative. So we have that on there. Now the machine is on, but let's take a look in the car before we do anything. There is the scan tool, which is, the top one is
RPMs.
and the bottom, the
is
red
the cat
one
temp.
is going to be the cat temp. Going to be a little hard to see. We'll move it once Bill gets in the car. And again, on the back of the machine, you want to make sure all those valves are open. Okay. Follow all the instructions. We're going to hook that air up now. Once the air is hooked, then we're going to see pressure in the gauges. The pressure in the gauges right there are going to be roughly about 40 to 50 pounds or so, which seems to be normal. Now we can see we have the emergency stop button, Bill. Show them that emergency stop button.
That's pushed in, so we're going to twist that out.
Twist it out.
That's now ready, so the switch is not pressed anymore.
Okay, so basically that would make this machine get ready to actually put chemical in there, correct?
Yep.
Okay, now you got little lights on the side. One of the things we'll do is we're going to start this motor up, and you see that green light that Bill pointed to? When I hit arm, disarm, that's going to make it go to the next stage. Then I'm going to hit the other button.
Start clean.
Start cleaning, and you're going to see A, B, and C. So let's do it, Bill.
Okay.
Let's start her up. Again, the less you run the car, the better. The colder the motor, the better. But check all the basics. You don't want to have a problem. If you hear an engine noise, obviously don't do this stuff. If you hear the motor loading up with chemical, you can shut it off. Okay, so I'm going to hit power. The light's on. See this light blinking? Start cleaning. There we go. When you hear the warning, he's going to have to race it up. You'll hear the motor race up. Now you can see that the gauges are up there. You see the solenoid A coming on? Smoke coming out of the back. Look at that smoke coming out. These motors are loaded with carbon. So now you're getting a lot of that carbon flushing out. Again, when you hear that beep, 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 it's time for you to race it up. And we're getting a lot of carbon out of the back. We'll look at the cat temperature, but right now it's probably pretty low. So there's the motor running. Warning, race up. Notice we went on to chemical B already. And look at that smoke. Well, at least we'll be mosquito free today. Let's look at the cat temperature. That's what we do sometimes. Shut it down, driving around. And when you're driving around, you're clearing out. You could always come back. Actually, you could hit the arm disarm button without hitting the emergency button. That'll put it in a pause, leave you at the same place that the chemical was actually being introduced. So this is for an emergency, but you can hit the arm disarm button. That will leave you exactly where you were. We're just on chemical B. And you could hear the motor lugging up. Chemicals coming out. It's starting to get clearer in the back. Not as much smoke. We'll wait for the next brum brum. And again, the motor should run a little rough. Now look, a big difference in any smoke coming out of the back. You don't see big plumes. And right now, let's see what chemical we're going to be on. We went back to A. I'm going to check the temperature of the canisters. The chemical still feels cold in the canister, which is good. Where's our...
cat temp is at 11. 1138.
So we're about 1100. So we're putting a lot of chemical through. Again, do it when it's cold, better results. Some cars with very, very heavy carbon buildup, you may need to have the customer drop the car off. This car, in all honesty, was done once before when it was hot. It was a big improvement. Misfires stopped. They brought it in for misfires. But now the lady was able to leave it. We are re-cleaning it. And this will prevent any future misfires and make it a hell of a lot cleaner than before. Okay, we're still on B. Didn't get to the cleaning chemical yet. So roughly it takes about 15 minutes or so. Okay, back to A, but nothing really coming out of that back. Some of the other things to remember. Only go by what's in the instruction manual. Okay? ATS provides an instruction manual, or you can call them up. If it's an exotic car or a car you don't know about, obviously do not clean it. Okay? Because you'll only run into a problem. If you have, like most cars, drive-by-wire, you'll need to kind of keep the engine continuously revved because it's hard to get a high throttle up there. By the way, the ideal engine rev is about 3,000–4,000 RPMs. So again, with electronic throttle, you need to do that. If you lose electronic control of the throttle, shut the motor off. Of course, the chemical will shut off as well and restart it. Any unusual noises, use common sense, don't clean it. When we hear heavy lugging or knocking of the motor, shut the chemical first, take the vehicle for a little ride around the building. It helps it really well. So lugging, shut the chemical off by hitting the arm disarm button. It'll stop it. Carefully make sure everything is connected correctly. Drive the vehicle around and then resume. When you're done with the cleaning and driving around, and what's going to happen is you're going to see a huge improvement. There's over 5,000 different engines out there, so it's real important to make sure that it's a motor that can be cleaned. Again, when in doubt, read the book or call ATS. The other thing is this don't have a map as a mass air, but never ever, disconnect the map or the MAF air, because that's basically your load sensor for fuel control. Roughly, this takes about 15 minutes or so, as you're roughly seeing. Now, we're still on chemical A and B. We didn't get to C yet. Again, no smoke coming out of the back now. Big difference. Very little, if any. I don't see any. Notice our pressures are still staying about the high 30s, 40s. So we're moving the chemical. We're still on B. Did not get to C yet. What's our temperature at?
1250.
1250. We're still under 1500, so we're okay. Now we're on C. C just lit up, so now we're on the cleaning phase, and it should be pretty close to being complete. So there's the C again, just popped on. Again, the C is on. You can see the red light comes on, then the green light, and then it tells us to race it up. So don't forget the flap in the intakes here. Make sure you vacuum, like we have here. Vacuum is still holding that flap open. That's important. If the flap is closed, you can't clean the valves good, can you? And this is common on a lot of these motors. Always look for an intake flapping system. We should be getting near the end. We're still on C. Still doing C. No smoke again out of the back. And we're only at about what, 1200 on that cat?
Yeah, 1150.
1150.
Yep.
So the cat's staying cool. You can hear the motor lug. That means you got to keep that idle up. Electronic throttle, you got to play with the pedal. Obviously, we're going to cut out some of the time because it's just redundant of the lights going on and off. Roughly allow 15, 20 minutes, and you'll see when it's complete. We're going to show you that. The green light on the bottom finish will come on. So it's not a guessing game because you can't see in the canisters, but you'll see what we're talking about. There's also a maintenance kit on the bottom. Under the machine, we leave our maintenance kit. And glasses should be worn, eye protection that is. Now you see the green light came on for finished, and you can hear that annoying beeping sound. Right here, it tells us we're done here. We shut the machine off. You don't have to bang it that hard. I didn't really bang it, I just smacked it a bit. The first thing you want to do is shut the bottles. So we'll turn this around real carefully. So we're going to shut the bottles down. Yep.
Good.
Disconnect the air hose. And then hit the air bleed. Never, never, never open the bottles up or take the bottles off without hitting that air bleed. Make sure all the air is out of there. Now the only thing left is basically for us to disconnect from the motor. We take positive, negative off. Bill's going to take that line out, clamp off. I'll disconnect the hose here for him in a second.
We can get that
Oh, actually, Bill's going to do it. Took the hose off. We'll put everything back on the machine. He'll then put the vacuum piece back on the flap for the intake. And again, variable intake, a lot of cars have it. If it's vacuum controlled or electrically controlled, you're going to need to open it. There are some directions. Again, you could always call ATS if you're unsure. And make sure that the flap goes on and works. Otherwise, we could have a very low torque problem on takeoff, and you know, the high end will be good, but low takeoff. The temperature sensor going back in, that was the best common port to produce the chemical through. So we found out that's better. There's no angle, and this car will go for a spin. We'll put the cover on, and hopefully the customer still leaves it a bit. When it's cool, we will put our video scope in there, and we will take another picture for you so you can see the obvious difference. All right, so once again, Bill and I would like to thank you and check it out. If you got any questions, you could always call us here at Auto Clinic. We do a lot of these. We really believe in this machine, saves us a lot of time and makes us a lot of money. Have a good one.
Have a good
Thanks,
day.
Bill.